I think people say TV's dead because of the way we're consuming it.
The winner of Pop Idol is Will!
Viewers are more in control than they've ever been.
But I do know the answer to this one. Do you know the answer to this one? Yeah, you, holding the phone.
Viewers are not in control of what they see. They have a choice from what they can see.
Single-handed. Here, you can tune in this wonderful new Westinghouse television set with just one hand like this.
The television started really as a mass communication medium, a broadcast medium, from one place to many people. And of course now what's really changed is it's coming from many places to many different people, through many different formats, through many different platforms.
When interactivity first became a feature on television programming, XFactor and Strictly Come Dancing, and you obviously have the telephone engagement initially, and then from telephone to texting.
I mean, I'll use American Idol as an example because that's, you know, the show we've sort of been most associated with in the US. You know, it started in 2001. It was, you know, call-in voting, phone only. The next year they introduced text because it was the first time you could do cross-carrier texting, and AT&T sponsored that.
Before American Idol, SMS usage in America was very low, and it was the mainstream piece of entertainment when it adopted SMS voting over telephony voting, i.e. when you can send a text rather than pick the phone up. That was really the tipping point.
What are you playing? What's your motive for it?
Craig, you've made a number of wild accusations over the last couple of weeks.
What's been argued with some of the rise of reality TV is that it's encouraged a fairly cynical, nasty voting offness.
So if you're watching something whereby you're scrutinising the behaviour of the characters or contestants on the show, often what you want to do is you want to dole out vengeance, really, for the behaviours that you see. And in those instances, vote to leave seems to be most successful. And in fact, some research suggests that one of the motivations for watching reality TV shows is vengeance. So people who are motivated by vengeance seem to be drawn to reality television.
Production companies and broadcasters have to constantly come up with new ways in which to keep people on board. And I think certainly, like, as technology changes as well, they have to keep up with what young people are doing and what young people are interested in, and young people are interested in interacting on their phones.
The genre that mostly has capitalised on having these dedicated apps is the entertainment genre, reality TV and talent shows. And these kind of shows where they depict real people or celebrities shown in a real light, you know, so they're not acting, allow people to develop a real sense that they know those people. In psychology we call those parasocial relationships, where you feel like you have a real relationship with the person on the screen, you really know them. And so voting on these apps actually allows us to have some kind of tangible way of interacting with them. We actually have a way of deciding the outcome or deciding their fate.
This year, Love Island surpassed expectation, and it achieved well in excess of 3 million active users or app installs, if you like. That's an immense amount of pickup. And so from that came the idea that instead of badging and sponsorship being the sort of obvious way to go, just by putting a sponsor like Misguided's logo, maybe some advertising within the app, we could actually start to sell product. So we introduced a style tab into the app, which effectively features products which Misguided have provided to the show. Rumour has it they sold quite a lot of product through it. They reported a 9,000% increase in the first couple of days of sponsoring the show.
Programmes like Love Island wanted to get that 16 to 24-year-old demographic as taking part in a particular kind of lifestyle. And that lifestyle was more than about viewing. It was also about consumption, it was also about dating, it was also about music.
I have voted on this series, and that's the first time. There's something about Love Island that just, it's weird, like something fascinating about it. I've never voted on anything else, but I have voted on this.
I have voted on this series, and I've voted on like previous series of Love Island, only because it's free and you can do it via an app.
If I really like a show, then yeah, I will download the app. But the only reason would be to vote. If I was really driven to vote for a particular person on the programme that I really cared about, then I would probably download the app. I wouldn't tend to reread the news on the app or anything else around it.
I think maybe for me, I feel like, no, I'm not buying into this. I'm not going to invest that much time into it. But then again, when votes happen and then a couple I like get voted out, I'm like, damn it, I should have done that.
Young people have access to apps, have access to Instagram, can move from Instagram to purchasing. That's a problem that needs to be captured anyway, outside of the broadcasting landscape, and I think it will get regulated once Ofcom get their head around it.
Production companies can manipulate things to a certain extent and changing running orders. And so, for example, if it's like XFactor, then maybe they sing last rather than first, because at the voting point, people will always remember what they've seen sort of last on their screens. There's elements where you can change like how the voting takes place, sometimes giving the viewer the choice as to who stays in and who goes out, and then sometimes giving that option to the contestants.
So the US is obviously a different market. I mean, I think you know, it's a bigger market for one thing. You know, what we've seen is therefore you know, more growth in some of those new platforms like Facebook and Twitter. You know, a few years ago on American Idol, we offered people the chance to kind of have their profile picture featured behind the performers they were voting for as they were kind of performing. You know, we saw a huge take-up of that. You know, one of the things I've been sort of told in the UK is that maybe people aren't as, you know, willing or open to kind of having that things like profile picture showing or some of their, you know, personal information kind of, you know, used in that way. I think the other thing that's quite important for the US is that there's been really no premium market. When I say premium, I mean consumers paying for interactivity on their televisions. So it's primarily been a free market. You know, I think that's meant we could do more things around, you know, digital and social.
Pure SMS has declined and rich messaging has taken over via WhatsApp, via iMessage, and actually people have found it more convenient to vote within the context of an app for top-tier TV shows. But for a property that sort of catches the imagination and that people start to really care about, an app becomes the always in your pocket version.
I think in the future that television screens as we know them as a feature in the front room will become null and void.
And we may see ourselves move to an entirely subscription-based system where we pay for what we want to watch.
I think you're going to see more of these immersive experiences. You know, think about things like the live real-time play-along game show, you know, mass participation. You know, I can see those sorts of things becoming, you know, you might have seen HQ in the US. I don't know if you've seen that kind of app, but that's become very big.
Play-along gaming is, you know, with playing along with quiz shows is something that we've been part of for years. When the presenter is persuasive enough to make you want to participate, Davina McCall is famously very persuasive and did a fantastic job of £1 Million Drop, the game show, which has just recently come back to Channel 4. That achieved record-breaking numbers of people playing along with a game show.
I don't think we're going to abandon more traditional ways of storytelling because that's what people often want. People often want just pure escapism.
There's more content available. There's never been a better time in some ways. Actually, all the stats are that the amount of TV that we watch is actually going up. It's just not being watched on that box in the corner, and it's not necessarily being watched in a schedule. In some ways, it's never been in better health. It's just the traditional model is changing and breaking down, you know, driven by consumer behaviour and technology.